I'm Randy Bueller here with Matt Elias. It is the Legacy Championship here at Eternal Weekend. Ari Lax is on the left of your screen playing a Death and Taxes deck. Yes, that is Plains Mother of Runes as his first turn.
Yep.
I guess the white-black tempo good enough for Chapin and Wright to let the Pro Tour, so it's good enough for Legacy. Is that what's going on here? I think the deck has deeper roots than that, but playing against him, Ray Robillard is on High Tide.
Yeah.
So he is 4 High Tide, 4 Time Spiral, building up a ton of mana, and then eventually killing your opponent with a Blue Sun Zenith.
Yeah, this is a really cool matchup. You know, High Tide, there was a time people were terrified this deck was going to take over the format, and it seems to have kind of...
There's Thalia from Ari Lax. That is not what the High Tide player wants to see.
That is...
All your spells cost 1 extra. So for a deck which is designed to play a bunch of spells in the same turn to all kind of build incremental advantage and go off, that is not good news.
Yeah, and that's what that Death and Taxes deck is all about. Just these creatures that tutor,
the tax.
make things awkward for the opponent. And you know, it's just a sort of non-blue tempo deck. It's pretty cool though.
And Ari's a player who's had a lot of success in Legacy. You want to run us through some of the highlights there?
Well, I thought for sure he was going to be on Storm Combo. I mean, he's written a number of articles about it. I mean, obviously he's the level of player that he is. He can pretty much pick whatever strategy he wants, but this is kind of a sublime deck choice. It snuck up on a few Star City Games Opens and had some very good finishes.
Okay.
And it just kind of attacks the format from a slightly different angle than a lot of decks are ready for.
And here's Stoneforge Mystic for Batterskull. A familiar angle of attack, though not necessarily out of the... I mean, he's showing just white weenie so far. Karakas
well, and this deck plays Ethervile, which used to be a staple of Legacy, but really has been less popular lately. The sort of tribal decks, not as common as they were, but this deck, it's been around for years. That's why it has the sort of...
Death and Taxes.
Yeah, the old moniker Death and Taxes name.
No particular sense other than somebody called it that 10 years ago.
That is correct.
All right, Robillard cracks a fetch and looks like an end-step Brainstorm, which is going to cost him 2 mana, thanks to Thalia.
I mean, so anyone that's sort of familiar with High Tide is what we're going to see here is it's a race to see when Ray just start playing Solitaire. It's basically what it is.
Yep. So the card High Tide makes all of your islands tap for an additional blue mana. So the idea is you play a High Tide, now your islands are making extra mana. If you can untap those islands with, say, Candelabra of Tawnos, then you can tap them again, play another High Tide. Turnabout, he also has to untap his land. So that's kind of the mana engine. You start playing as many High Tides, untapping your land, generating just a huge amount of mana. The best way to untap your lands is with Time Spiral, which also happens to draw you 7 cards. So that just kind of all escalates into one turn where you chain through enough of those cards to build up enough mana to just deck the opponent, point a card drawing spell at them, and make them draw their entire library.
Ray paying 2
mana for
a probe.
Wow. Sees Batterskull, second Karakas, which is a legendary land, so that's not getting played. Second Thalia, which is a legendary creature, so that's not getting played. That hand is basically Jitte and Batterskull.
Yep.
And no 4th mana. All right, well, that's a lot of information. Was an extra? He had to pay extra for the Gitaxian probes. So
yeah,
he's no land.
He has no lands.
That's not good for him.
No.
These guys are 4-0, so we're also sitting near the top. We're starting to get to the point where the good decks and the good players migrate toward the top of the Swiss. It's a 9-round event, so still a long slog, but 4-0 is the best place you can be right now.
Death and Tax is one of these cool sort of combinations of decks from has cards from so many different blocks.
Scoops it up. Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
It's just like I have no lines of play. I don't really want to discard. He actually didn't. He didn't really show his deck there, right?
No.
All he showed Ari was Island, Fetch Land, Island, Brainstorm, Gitaxian Pro.
Yeah.
So Ari, they don't know each other's decks.
Yeah.
Like, he may not know that Robillard's playing High Tide.
He may be, he may be thinking he's on like a Storm combo deck, but which just sort of is, but very different lines. But I mean, looking at his sideboard,
I mean, he could be playing Sneak and Show for all Ari knows.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
Island Pro, Gitaxian Pro, Brainstorm, Fetch Land. I mean, he got a basic island. So
well, yeah. I mean, he did have the. Well, yeah, but he did have the Karakas. So I mean, it's not unreasonable to think that if my opponent has,
he's conceding to Karakas.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
No, I mean, I think that's why Robillard scoops there, right? Is he was going to have to discard that turn.
Yeah.
And he's probably looking at what he's discarding, and every card he discards, he's just giving Ari Lax more information. And at that point in this game, I mean, maybe they've met in the hallway and had a conversation. It wouldn't surprise me if these guys know each other, but it's entirely possible that Ari has no idea what he's sideboarding for right now.
Now he has, I mean, whenever he does figure it out, he's got Enlightened Tutors and Aethersworn Canonists, which are definitely powerful there, and a Mindbreak Trap as well. So in addition to the fact that his main deck already has some ways to make life difficult, and the Thalias in particular, he's got some good stuff in his sideboard. Whereas one of the issues with High Tide is you have a little bit less room to maneuver because you're a Wish deck.
Sure.
So I mean, looking at the High Tide sideboard, I'm not really seeing anything that really jumps out at me. Maybe Force of Will, keep that early Thalia off the board.
Well, I think Ari does know what he's playing against. The Canonists went in, the Plows came out. I don't know if he already knew before he sat down. I mean, a lot of times you see your pairing, right? You're trying to find out if everybody knows what you're playing against.
Yep.
That information is, you're taking a mulligan decision, and certainly you would prefer to know what your opponent is playing. But I mean, middle of the Swiss, you might know, you might not know.
I mean, this Death and Taxes deck, so we're talking about Legacy, right? So how many cards are legal in this format? 12,000 or
13,000, something like that.
So, and here's a deck 4-0 with Flicker Wisp in it, right? So
not just one Flicker Wisp, 3 of them.
Yeah, and Fiend Hunter and Mirran Crusader. Sure, Mirran Crusader was very solid in Standard not that long ago.
Right.
But you slap a Batter Skull on that, some interesting things happen pretty quickly. So
the 2 Mangara of Karandor is.
I love that. So
it combos with Karakas. Is that right?
Yeah, it's basically a never-ending Vindicate that just makes life really difficult for the opponent when it gets going. And he's got the ports in his deck, Wastelands in his deck. Obviously, not very good. You can look at what's
great in the format, of course.
But in this matchup, I'm pretty sure they're blanks. They're just tap for a colorless. But the ports can be annoying.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, he does have some stuff in his deck that is.
This doesn't seem like a great matchup for the Death and Taxes. I mean, it seems like it is. It's an aggro deck, like it's a creature deck. It's trying to kill you by playing creatures and beating down with them, but
not
it's
very
slower.
It's not very quickly.
Right, it's not as fast as a Delver deck. Meanwhile, the High Tide opponent's just like, I don't want to interact with you.
But he does.
I mean, you think the Thalias and that aspect
and
of
he
the
also
deck?
has Revoker for Candelabra. So he's got enough, I think just enough ways. Now, yeah, he has awkward cards, like Mother of Runes.
Right.
Is Amon's Goblin Raider in this matchup, more or less. Except, if he's got the Thalia out, he can pro-blue either of those creatures to blank, maybe not a wipe away, but if he has some sort of bounce spell that he wants to go with.
I don't think that's Ray's game.
I mean, he's got a wipe away in his board. You can't win through Aethersworn Canonist, so you need some way to beat it. I mean, you're gonna rebuild probably.
Mother can defend Aethersworn Canonist after sideboarding. That is fair. Yeah, the Canonist is. And the crazy good in this matchup.
And he tutor for him also.
He brought Enlightened Tutors in from the sideboard. You got to be clear, there's 2 Enlightened Tutors in Ares sideboard, 2 Canonists in Ares sideboard, and all of that came in.
Yeah, he has, the 1 Meekstone, which is great against Rug Delver. I mean, so we talked about True Name Nemesis. Okay, how does it beat Meekstone? Right?
Enlightened Tutor in the sideboard is an interesting
yeah, you see that a decent amount in Legacy, because what you want to be able to do is, I'd like 4 Oblivion Rings against Show and Tell.
Right.
I want 4 Aethersworn Canonists, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
And I love the 1 Sunlance, right? So again, I have the entirety of Legacy, almost every Magic card, basically every Magic card except for 60. That's except for the unsets I can pick from, and I choose Sunlance. So.
Ari mulligans down to 6. There's an Enlightened Tutor. Any land?
Yeah, Stoneforge, Aven Mind Sensor.
Must have been a land in there. There's
Gitaxian. We'll all get a good look at it now.
Right.
So he's got, wow, that's not bad. So he's got the Cavern of Souls to power out that Thalia straight through a Force of Will. That's a pretty good 6 right there.
Yep.
Plus the
Horizon Canopy. So he's got 2 lands.
Plus the Enlightened Tutor. I mean, that's pretty much all you could ask for from a 6-card hand with the deck that he's on.
What are the creature types of Thalia and the Canonist? Do they overlap? They could both be humans, right? Maybe?
They may be.
Aethersworn Canonist and Thalia are the two relevant ones.
I'm not sure about Canonist. I think it's some kind of robot of some. Yeah.
Aethersworn Canonist is a human cleric. What's Thalia?
She's definitely a human.
So yeah, that cavern is pretty good.
That is a really nice hand he has.
Stoneforge is also human. I mean, not that Ray is playing a counter magic strategy, but he's trying to slow you down a little bit. He definitely is Force of Will. He's got Flusterstorms in his main, although he probably doesn't have them anymore.
I hope not. I mean, I'm not sure what he's bringing in instead, but.
All right, so Candelabra's going to come out. He doesn't know about the Canonist possibility, but I think we're going to Enlighten Tutor end step here. Yeah, I would totally Enlighten Tutor for Canonist.
So, yeah.
That is, and of course, I don't think does Ray have a Force of Will that he's declining or no?
I mean, his other option conceivably might be Revoker on Candelabra, but I just think the Canonist is probably.
No, you put Canonist in play here. Like how many answers does the High Tide deck have for Resolved Canonist? Its plan is to Force of Will the Canonist and go get like its one wipe away.
Right.
And you've got Cavern of Souls. Yeah, so it's going to resolve. You've got him down to like the wipe away.
Right. It's just bad. It's bad news. I mean, what this deck does is it has some very sick draws against other creature decks, and it has just enough creature-based disruption for these type of combo matchups that it really does a better job than you'd think at first look at slowing them down. The only issue with it is you're not playing blue, so you don't have Brainstorm. Right. You know, so kind of what you draw is what you get. Plus, you're playing Flicker Wisp and Sunland, so you need to be of a certain metal to sign up for this type of tournament with those cards.
He's looking at Thalia.
I'd probably lead with that.
Lead with Thalia first.
Yeah, and then go into the Canonist.
That does seem to be the line he's chosen.
I mean, either way, I think it's really bad news. But now, like, even if he had a Cunning Wish here, he can't even go get it this turn. I mean, it's
right.
He can't cast it.
Right. So 3 Cunning Wishes in Ray's deck. There are no main deck ways to remove a creature, but the Cunning Wish can go get the wipe away from the sideboard. And that's basically the plan. There isn't anything. I mean, he can rebuild.
He conceivably could have brought in one of those cards. So, like, he has rebuild and wipe away.
Yeah, here's the 3-mana Merchant Scroll. So
right, and exactly.
It looks like the rebuild is in the deck.
So that's what I was going to say.
The wipe away is or not.
Right.
Oh, he put them both in the deck.
Because he has 4 Merchant Scrolls, it's actually a more effective way to find them than it would be to tutor them up once you get to games 2 and 3.
I mean, it's worth thinking about leaving one in the sideboard to Cunning Wish for, right? Assuming he left Cunning Wishes in the deck.
I think the issue is because his deck is designed to. I mean, really, Ari's trying to find Thalia. I mean, that's his best card in this matchup. I think he's just concerned about the amount of mana it takes for me to do all these things and how far behind am I at that point. And the answer in this game is going to be really far behind.
Right. So what's his plan? So he got the wipe away, right? That's what he just Merchant Scrolled for?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there is a plan that's gonna save him from here.
He needs to bounce the Canonist and win through Thalia?
Yeah.
It's possible. It just seems hard. I guess Thalia is offset by a High Tide.
Mm-hmm.
So now your second High Tide is like your first High Tide? Alright, well here's Wasteland from Ari. He's of course going to put the Canonist down. It's going to resolve. Cavern makes sure of that. Now 4 damage a turn, so Ray's got a couple of turns. Force of Will, not the card he wanted to draw. Has he had a land again?
I think he might be.
9, 10, 11. Does he only have 17 land? That seems light.
The deck, I mean, because of the way it works, they run a little light. I mean, you're looking at, you know, Ponders and Brainstorms.
Right,
and
right. I mean, it's a million cantrips. It's got the Turbo Xerox thing going on.
Right.
But
You'd think that because of the way the deck works, they would need to have a whole ton of lands in play. But, I mean, it's just honestly not a deck I'm really in love with because of exactly what we're seeing happen right now.
I did not expect this match to be the blowout. That
I mean, look, like
apparently
one
is.
Pyroclasm out of a deck that has red, and we're back in business. But
Do you have to force a will Mind Sensor? I mean, it speeds the clock up. Costs him a turn.
well, and he only gets he gets one spell a turn too, right?
Right.
So you do cruel things to somebody by casting that. I don't know that the actual ability of the deck is, well, he does have, he has some fetch lands, but I mean, it's going to shut down his Merchant Scrolls, it's going to shut down his fetch lands.
Wow, and cycling the rebuild.
Ugh.
And he's going to force a will. Pitching time spiral.
He's probably just excited to finally have an opportunity to counter something. The Cavern of Souls really earning its keep so far.
Oh, there's another one.
Windmill slams another Mind Sensor. I have birds for days. Just all the birds. Yeah, this is just...
I did not expect this match to be quite this big a blowout.
I mean, it's great when your strategy trumping cards are also guys that just come in and put a clock on.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one thing when you're playing Grafdigger's Cage and that's shutting off somebody.
Second canvas.
I mean, yeah, now it's like...
Can I have the rebuild back to my sideboard, please? I mean, from my graveyard?
He's got 4 essentially. Yeah, that's it.
That could have been a good hand if there wasn't anything on the... if he was goldfishing. Wow.
Yeah, so Death and Taxes there.
You can't avoid him. Nobody's going to win. Not in the long run. Death and Taxes is going to get you. Apparently. Certainly what Arilox is thinking.
Sadly, we didn't see Flicker Wisp do much, but...
True. That's all even Mind Sensor beat down.
Yeah, I mean, Canonist, I'm a big fan of that card. Actually, even in Vintage. May see some Canonist tomorrow, so...
Well, that was a quick one, so we will get over to the other feature match table. What do we got here?
We got Chaz Hinkle on the right.
Stephen Liao.
Yeah.
Game 2, Chaz won the first game? Yes. Chaz Hinkle won the first game. Chaz running the Sneak and Show deck that pretty much everyone was expecting to be a factor. What's his opponent got?
He's got Elves, and this is pretty much a close replica of a match we covered earlier. But this Elves list...
Yeah, it's a more straightforward list.
Yeah, this Elves list is pretty typical of what we've seen the last few weeks. Sort of Reed Duke won Star City Philly with Elves, and then only some minor changes from that list. He does have the Rorik Thar the Unbowed in his sideboard, which is awesome. He's a 6/6 you can natural order out and hits people for 6 whenever they play non-creature spells. So,
sure.
So he's...
pretty much Reed's list then.
Yeah, he's...
2 Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yep. 2 Dryad Arbor. 4 guys Cradle, and I really like this Elves deck. But again, I think that I'd have to give the edge slightly to the Sneak and Show. Again, Chaz with the 2 Pyroclasms.
Yeah, Pyroclasm is so good against the Elf deck.
And then Chaz has been a big fan of running the Singleton Simian Spirit Guide. So it's sort of like Lotus Petal number 5.
Petal?
Yeah, exactly.
Seems reasonable. He's got Gitaxian Probe, so this is very similar to the decks that were running around the Star City Invitational last weekend.
Correct. Yeah, one of the big question marks that you see out of the board, and Chaz has 1 Jace in his sideboard and 2 defense grids this time, are whether people are playing Leyline of Sanctity or not. So, and
Steven taking a mulligan. Down a game, and now he's going to be down a card.
That's rough. Yeah, Chaz has had some great success with this deck. He came in second in the Star City Open with it not that long ago, so... And actually, he had two win and in rounds at the Invitational a couple weeks ago, and unfortunately for Chaz, lost them both. And was playing this deck there as well. So it's a deck that he knows and has been good to him.
Sure. How about these 6?
See what the 6 look like. I bet there's forests and elves in that hand. Might have been
not.
no forests,
Yeah,
only elves. Not going to cut it.
These players are both 4-0. So another match from the top tables.
There's actually a vintage version of elves that runs Skull Clamp, so which is on the power ban list from Legacy, but resulted in one of the all-time classic tournament report lines. Basically, when I led with Forest Llanowar Elves, my opponent led with Ancestral Recall, a slightly better one-mana spell from the same set.
Sure.
So
5 cards.
Chaz verifying that there are indeed 5, and that looks like just a cradle hand. That's awkward.
Yep.
So things going from bad to worse here, unless you're Chaz, in which case things looking good.
Going from good to better.
It's unfortunately asking a lot of the Elves deck when you're trying to keep a hand in this, because you need lands, and the deck doesn't run a lot of land. You want to have Natural Order or Glimpse of Nature, because otherwise you're not going to be fast enough.
You're not going to have enough cards to get Glimpse off, right?
Right, and you probably need some type of Thoughtseize or Cabal Therapy to even have a chance of being in the game. So you're really asking a lot out of the Elves deck to get a hand that's
Seems like
competitive.
he's really hoping for a Natural Order draw.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the one Viridian Shaman, which, you don't always see anymore, but that's good. 1 Bursal Rangers. I do really like the Elves deck. I think the Elves deck is good, but
it doesn't seem good in this matchup.
It's not, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
hand.
he's got
Land Thoughtseize, land something.
It might be a Therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like Green Sun Zenith, 2 lands and a Cabal Therapy, which is not a terrible hand. You get the Dryad Arbor, you get your rebuy. Kind of probably going to see him Cabal blind and then flash it back next turn, depending on what he sees. Yep. So then he may name Show and Tell. It's pretty common off the bat. It's the faster to deploy card, so you're always worried about, hey, Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, here's an Emrakul. Back to you, Elves. So
Sees Intuition, Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, 2 Grizzlebrands, 2 lands.
See, I like this hand, especially because it has Intuition. I understand that space is cramped in these Sneak and Show decks, but man, Intuition, every time I see somebody resolves it, it just seems like, well, that game's over.
I mean, it's a tutor. It's a 3-mana instant speed tutor. Makes him shuffle. All right, drew a Brainstorm. This leads Fetch Land, Lotus Petal.
I mean, his hand
could have led Lotus Petal, Ancient Tomb, Intuition, Untapped, Show and Tell, but
with his
probably
opponent,
not through Cabal Therapy.
His opponent taking a mull his opponent taking that mulligan too. I mean, he's in no rush here.
Right.
Sort of just, how many creatures does your Elves deck have right now? 0?
Right.
I'm feeling pretty good about my life. So, as expected.
Now he's going to
brainstorm in response.
Hide the good stuff.
And I like that. He's keeping that fetch land, right?
Right.
So
he can reshuffle.
Yep. I'm seeing another
probably send away or choose to draw it.
Yeah,
he's doing Emrakul.
He's got a lot of big creatures there.
Right. I'm going to put the 2 Grizzlebrands back because he thinks that's the card that's going to get named. I might put I might hide the Intuition. That seems like an important card here.
Yeah, because with the Ancient Tomb, you can just go get Show and Tell and just win the game. Right. Because you have both big guys.
If you're Steve, don't you name Intuition here?
Probably.
I mean, it helps that I've seen his hand. I know Chaz didn't hide it, but I'd be very tempted to name Intuition here. What do you name? He named Grizzlebrand.
Yeah, so there you go.
Well, Chaz had the soul read.
Well, he either thinks that he's not going to name Intuition, or he could be reverse psychologing him and saying, well, obviously I'm going to hide Intuition, right?
He had to read.
Yeah.
He clearly read it correctly. He had 2 copies of Grizzlebrand. Those were the 2 cards he put back with Brainstorm. And that was what got named with Cabal Therapy. So, score 1 for Chaz Hinkle, for sure. And now he does not want to reshuffle the Grizzled Brands. He prefers to draw
Give me one of them.
So not cracking his fetch land.
Now I got my,
Now here comes Ancient Tomb. Now he's set up to Intuition. Intuition for, he's drawing Lotus Petal. Lotus Petal is the other card.
Yeah, I mean, you just wait a turn and...
Do you get Sneak Attack now?
Yeah.
I mean, you can Intuition for Sneak Attacks now, play a land, sneak out Emrakul.
I mean, he's basically cycling a Glimpse of Nature here. I mean, this is just not good. Yeah, I don't see any way.
Yeah, you just get Sneak Attacks and then annihilate him.
Yeah,
and then you can wait a turn for the actual kill. You'll have time after you annihilate him.
There it is.
Yep.
And again, this is why I love Intuition in this deck. I just think it's so good.
What's he got? One?
If, you know, it's typically a one of.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're looking for a card that maybe you want to play more of, and again, you don't want to go crazy, but I think
it's on the expensive side.
Yeah, I could see two of those for sure.
I agree with you. It draws Emrakul.
Why not? Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So 4 mana for Sneak Attack. Activate Sneak Attack to put Emrakul into Grizzled Brand.
Yeah, because he's just trying to end this right now. He's got the Simian Spirit Guides, or Simian Spirit Guide as well as the Lotus Petal.
He's drawing to 3 red sources basically.
Yeah.
2 Lotus Petals in the graveyard.
Yeah.
But he can draw 14. You don't think blowing up both his lands and all his lands and his creature ends it?
I think it's over. I think it's over no matter what.
Yes. It's a question of which way do you prefer to go. I would have just hit him with Emrakul, but I know this guy's had a lot of success with this deck, so I guess we can just defer. I'm definitely vulnerable to the scoreboard response as Chaz Hinkle looks to go to 5-0.
No, I mean, I'm knowing that he's got 2 petals in his graveyard, I'm inclined to agree with you. That, you know, the safer play is, hey, Elves, you have no hand and you have no board.
Right.
And you are guaranteed to be dead next turn.
Right, he had no cards in his hand.
There is no card that exists that would allow Steven to come back. But regardless, the game is still going to be over. Nettle Sentinel's going to attack for 2, and there's no card that he could draw.
Does Natural Order do anything?
I mean, he can't. I'm pretty sure Chaz has his hand locked down with Force of Will. So it's just.
There is that.
Yeah, it's just done.
Yeah. Emrakul was among the cards that Chaz discarded, so he has to reshuffle.
I just personally have always been a fan of, if you can win with your opponent having no permanents in play, do that. I mean, I guess it's going to happen anyway, because Emrakul is going to come out next turn regardless, but...
Was Natural Order.
Yeah. It's
not good enough.
What does Chaz have? Double Force of Will, double Brainstorm. Days.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
This is all I got. Can you win through this? Nope.
Still had all these.
Steven